John Gotti was head of the most violent organization in New York City, the Gambino family, from 1985 to 1990. He took control in 1985 after the murder of Paul Castellano with Salvatore "Sammy the Bull" as second-in-command. Born John Joseph Gotti Jr. on October 27, 1940 in the Bronx. When he was 12, his family moved to Brooklyn, where he and his brothers grew up living a life of crime. He attended Franklin K. Lane High School, where he continued to bully other students before dropping out at 16. At a very young age, Gotti quickly grew through the ranks of the Gambino crime family during the 1970s, with a violent reputation that followed his career. In 1985, he ordered the assassination of Paul Castellano, boss of the Gambino crime family. Being indicted by the FBI, Gotti was concerned that he and his brothers would be killed by Castellano for dealing in drugs. Not long after Castellano's death, Gotti became the head of the Gambino family, building a reputation as the most powerful crime organization in the United States. Even though there was growing dissension over the leadership in the family, he chose the movement to show himself as an approachable, effective leader. He continued to grow the organization and build a reputation as the most powerful and dangerous crime boss to date. Through his outspoken and bombastic personality, he was able to sway public opinion in some circles. Gotti formed alliances with other powerful crime figures that helped him get the support he needed in the Gambino family. Gotti had a lot of luck on his side, with many cases being kicked out, even though the evidence was overwhelming or witnesses were being intimidated. Over his career, he was acquitted of many charges including racketeering, extortion, and conspiracy to commit murder, and the list went on. In turn, this led to his nickname, Teflon Don. Nothing stuck to him. With a few scratches and bruises, he'd get back up and start all over again. Eventually, his luck ran out. His reign over the Gambino family came to an end in 1990 by law enforcement and more criminal trials that led to his overdue arrest. The film industry is known for films about notable people in history. These films seem to provide some facts with a lot of imagination. Gotti is no exception to the rule. In many cases, films will condense events in someone's life to fit the time frame of the movie. In this film, Gotti's life is condensed to meet the timeline. As an example, Gotti becoming the head of the Gambino family shortly after Castellano's death is an over-exaggeration. It took a good amount of time, including fighting for power. The film leads the viewing audience to believe he was a charismatic and charming guy who was loved by the public. In reality, Gotti was a violent and ruthless man who had a complicated rapport with the press. Many of these theories are supported by speculations, not facts. Gotti did become the head of the Gambino family after the assassination of Paul Castellano. There have been several theories floating around, but it is believed he gained support from others in the Gambino family by portraying himself as a decisive and charismatic leader. He had a flamboyant side, and his charismatic style led to a large following of people. He built an enormous empire by controlling many illegal operations, including loan sharking, extortion, and trafficking drugs. He had ties with many unions and within the construction industry. His control of the Gambino crime family was tainted by endless murders as well as threats to his own life. In spite of Gotti's well-known penchant for violence, he sidetracked convictions for many years, which labeled him the Teflon Don. In 1992, it all caught up with him. He was convicted of racketeering and murder. Finally, Gotti was sentenced to life and had no chance for parole. He died from throat cancer in 2002. His legacy is a complicated one. On one side of the coin, he controlled a massive empire of corruption and illegal actions. On the other side of the coin, he could be very charismatic, drawing others to follow him. Gotti's impact on New York City's organized crime cannot be debated. Gotti was arrested so many times throughout his criminal life, but the arrest that stands out was in December 1990. He was arrested for charges of racketeering, extortion, illegal gambling, and conspiracy to commit murder. The significance of this arrest came from extensive investigations by the FBI and NYPD, both departments gathering massive evidence against the Teflon Don and the Gambino crime family for quite a few years. Both the FBI and the NYPD used several avenues, including surveillance, wiretapping, and informant testimony to get the information they needed. This was important data to bring a case against Gotti. They gathered a lot of evidence regarding Gotti's involvement in many criminal activities, such as loan sharking and extortion. In 1991, the FBI pulled a rabbit out of its hat by having an informant named Salvatore, Sammy the Bull, Gravano, who was Gotti's second-in-command in the Gambino family and was Gotti's underboss. Gravano agreed to testify against Gotti in court. He would testify against Gotti after hearing some derogatory remarks made about him on a wiretap, naming both of them in several murders. Gotti was convicted of many crimes, including racketeering, illegal gambling, conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, and 5 murders. In December 1990, Gotti was arrested while attending the Ravenite Social Club in Little Italy, located in Manhattan. He was charged with 13 counts of racketeering and conspiracy to commit murder. In 1992, he was convicted and sentenced to prison without any chance of parole. The conviction and arrest marked the end of the Gotti era heading the Gambino family, which was a major blow to organized crime in New York City. As mentioned earlier, Gotti died from throat cancer in 2002, and the same year Gotti's brother Peter Gotti headed the Gambino family but did not last very long when he was arrested and convicted of conspiracy charges and racketeering in 2003. After Peter was arrested, there have been several other members of the Gambino family who have fought over control of the organization, but the names of these people have not been released to the general public. The Gambino crime family, like other crime organizations, operates in secrecy, so it's very difficult to know who is currently in charge of the crime family. Despite efforts by law enforcement to bring this organization down has not been successful. The Gambino crime family is still considered one of the most powerful and influential organizations in the country.